Hi, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Jonathan Calixto, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we speak with a representative from Consumer Reports and a representative from Clean+Healthy to learn more about how they are pushing for the Beauty Justice Act. Then the president of Center for Employment Opportunities speaks about how they provide immediate, effective, and comprehensive employment services to people recently released from incarceration. After that, the director of programs for the Oyate group, along with a student participant, share more about the importance of their Rise Leadership program. And finally, we are joined by two representatives of the Bronx Defenders to learn more about the school to prison pipeline and what it is all about. So stay tuned. All this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Calixto, and today is Tuesday, April 29th. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Now, the average American woman uses 12 personal care and cosmetic products and is exposed to more than 150 chemicals before leaving the house each morning. Now, men use 6 per day and are exposed to 85 chemicals. Currently, there is a pending New York State bill called the Beauty Justice Act, which would help ban unsafe chemicals in cosmetic and hair products. Here to tell us more is the Toxics Policy Director for Clean+Healthy, Sophia Longsworth, and the Director and Head of Product Safety Testing for Consumer Reports, James Rogers. Hi, James and Sophia. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good
Yes,
morning.
good
Thank you
morning.
for having us.
Yeah, now, of course, I gave a little bit of an insight into obviously the chemicals that we're talking about and that are included in these products. But Sophia, talk to me about the Beauty Justice Act. What is its mission and what are you looking to address?
Yeah, so the Beauty Justice Act, it is sponsored by Senator Leo Webb and Assemblymember Deborah Glick, and it will ban the worst toxic chemicals in personal care products and cosmetics, focused on those that disproportionately harm women and femmes of color. So the goal is just for everyone to have access to clean, safe, and healthy products.
Yeah, now, of course, earlier I did mention these statistics, which were very shocking even to our team to hear that women are
Mhm.
exposed to 150 chemicals a day on average,
Mhm.
while men are exposed to 85 chemicals. James, when we hear those numbers, can you give us a sense of what are these chemicals and why are they harmful?
Well, Consumer Reports, we were very concerned with lead and volatile organic compounds, which we reported on in artificial braiding her earlier this year. As you may know, lead can be a very significant toxin that can cause mental issues, reduction of IQ points in children. And the volatile organic compounds, some of them that we found actually are linked to cancer, such as benzene and methylene chloride.
Now, of course, James, with that insight of obviously even like lead, which can cause these long term health risks, Sophia, you've been on the front lines of these toxic policies as well. Talk to us about what would change when it comes to the ingredients in these beauty products and how can it actually help people in the long term?
Yeah, so if we take a step back on the federal level, there is very slow action on the regulation of chemicals, and the FDA has not been using its existing authority to restrict harmful chemicals from cosmetic products. So, what would change in this New York bill is that manufacturers will no longer be allowed to sell products that contain toxic chemicals that have been tested and determined to be harmful to human health, contributing to cancer, developmental, and reproductive challenges. So, what we simply want to do is to ensure that the products that are available to consumers on the shelves are safe.
Yeah, now, of course, with banning some of those chemicals, we do hear that the EU has banned over 1,600
Mhm.
ingredients. How does the US compare and where are we falling short?
So the EU and the US take different approaches in the way in which chemicals are regulated. In the EU, before chemicals are included in products, they have to be tested to ensure that they don't cause harm. In the US, the opposite is true. So chemicals are only restricted after they've been proven to be harmful to human health. And it can take years before this happens. And by then, an even more harmful substitute has already been introduced and placed on the market.
Yeah, now, of course, I did. When we talked about these statistics, I mean, James, you also recently put out a report on synthetic braiding hair. Can you talk to me about what you found out in this report and in your research?
Well, one of the things we found out was that the FDA does not regulate this product. So if it is contaminated with these chemicals, and we believe it is, there is no federal oversight on the chemicals that could be in the braiding hair and could cause serious harm to women. The other thing we found is that the lead that I previously mentioned was at such a high level, it was above the amounts that are considered safe for these products. And so we are very concerned about these chemicals and really want some type of federal regulation. But in the meantime, we also support the Beauty Justice Act that is happening here in New York.
Yeah, when we talk about the synthetic braiding hair, who is most impacted by these products? And why is it crucial that we include this in the legislation that you are also fighting for?
Well, you may be aware that synthetic braiding hair is very popular in the Black community, in the Afro Latina community, and especially children. There are some of these products that are actually marketed directly to children. If you look at the packages, there are pictures of young girls on the package. And so it is this community, our community, that is really impacted by being exposed to these harmful chemicals and artificial braiding hair and the other beauty products that Black women, Afro Latina women use.
Yeah, now I mean, even when you're talking about obviously our black community, our Afro Latino community that is being impacted, I mean, when we walk into a beauty store, we assume that everything on the shelf is safe for us to use.
Mhm.
Sophia, what would be your response to that, and how should people go about then shopping for these products to be more knowledgeable of what they're putting on their hair, their beauty products, everything?
Yeah, so the disappointing truth is that they're not necessarily safe. The products have not been tested and approved for use by consumers. And we tend to think that if it is being sold in a drugstore, for example, that it is safe and free of the toxic chemicals. That is not necessarily the case. And it shouldn't be that consumers have to be experts in the science to know what to shop for when they go shopping. It should be that um, the government should make it so that chemicals that are toxic and dangerous to human health is not being placed in the products that people shop for. So I know that folks may panic or maybe feel guilty because they don't know this information, but you should not. Like I said, you should not be an expert in the science. What we suggest that you do is maybe take a look at the products that you use most often and maybe start looking for safer alternatives and then slowly replacing them slowly but surely. And hopefully, we get this bill passed so that all of the products on the shelves are safe for consumption and for use.
Yes, now with that, James, in the meantime, with this bill still being fought for, what can people do to protect themselves?
Number one, as my co-host here said, become informed and informed consumer. There's information out there as to help you try to select safer products. In the article, we mentioned that many women, many children wear these braids for 4 to 6 weeks at a time. We suggested maybe reduce the amount of time you have the braids in, so you reduce your risks. Maybe increase the amount of time that you have braids in between. And so again, you're letting your hair rest, your scalp rest. And then also, there are some products we have not tested yet that say that they are safer. And so, our community may consider using these products that may be safer, maybe more natural, maybe plant based, that's out there until we get more information about this product.
Now, with that, of course, of having these products that may be a safer route for people to go to, where can they actually find this research or maybe even look up some of these products? How about you, Sophia?
Yeah, so you can visit our website, cleanandhealthy.org, backslash take dash action. There's some information on there on the Beauty Justice Act, where you can learn, the types of chemicals that will be restricted in this bill if it is passed and signed into law. And you can go about your shopping in that way, look for those chemicals on the ingredient list on the back of your products.
Yeah. Now, of course, with the impact here in New York, if the bill does happen to pass, how soon can New Yorkers expect to see those changes being applied?
So, if the bill passes this year and it is signed into law this year by Governor Hochul, then by the year 2029, no products sold on shelves should have these restricted chemicals. So, this gives the manufacturers time to get the products off of the store shelves and to come up with a different formula for the products so that consumers can buy products that are now toxic free and safe for their use.
James, for you as well, like obviously with the report that you released and even talking about some of the numbers and statistics now, anything else that you were shocked to learn about in your research into these kind of beauty products that aren't so safe for us?
Well, our article talked about acute reactions to this product, which would be reactions to the smell, scalp irritation, redness, those type of things. But what I was mostly shocked about were the lead results. There were some extremely high levels detected. The other concern is that many women that work in this industry are exposed to these products every day. And so, along with a bill such as this, we would also want some type of investigation as to how can we keep the workers in these salons safe because they handle this product every day, 14, 16 hours a day. And so we're really convinced that their exposure is even higher than the typical consumer, but they deserve to work in safe environments too.
Definitely, and so important that you talk about that too. The people not just who are taking these products and using them, but also the people who are working behind the scenes, should also be protected. Something that we talked about earlier was again this disproportionate impact on the Black community and people in general of color. Why do we fall so short when it comes to being safe and protected in these beauty products? You'd say. Maybe start with you, Sophia, and then I'd love to hear your take as well, James.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there are disproportionate impacts on Black women and other communities of color. Black women tend to use more products than their counterparts. Some of these products contain endocrine disrupting chemicals, many of which are included in this bill to be restricted. And we've also seen that products that are designed to emulate European beauty standards are heavily marketed towards women of color. And these products, like skin lighteners and hair straighteners, have effects that range from a rash or burning of eyes to more long term impacts like reproductive challenges, infertility, and cancer.
Wow, definitely like long-term risks right there.
Mhm.
James, I'd love to hear your point as well.
Mhm. Two things. Number one, especially with artificial braiding hair, it's a cultural thing. It's part of the culture, the beauty, the presentation of our women and our hair. And so, because the styles require additional hair, sometimes we get an increased exposure. The other thing is that I used to work for a federal regulatory agency, and the federal agencies move so slow in regulation. My co-guest mentioned how long it's going to take to get this state bill in place. There are regulations in the FDA that have not moved in 10, 20 years now.
Okay.
And
Wow.
so we're just in a unique position where we're going to have to do more for ourselves and do more at the state level. And I'm happy that this bill is moving forward.
Yes, and with that as well, we are happy that you took the time this morning to share more about this bill, the initiative, and the reports and statistics that you are finding yourself. So thank you again, Sophia and James, for joining us.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Now, to learn more about the synthetic braiding hair report, please visit the website on the screen below. And to learn more about the efforts made by the Clean and Healthy, you can visit their website on the screen below as well. Don't go away, we'll be back with more Open after this.
We're gonna start the show right now. This is my favorite part. Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, this is Angel, and I am one of the instructors for the in-studio production. Here at BronxNet, we offer classes that can help you elevate, expand, and start your television career. All you have to do is sign up at bronxnet.org/education. For the past 7 years, I have been in various productions, spanning from talk shows, independent films, news reports, art displays, teachings, musical performances, and many more. Ain't that right, Angel? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Angel. There are a lot of creative individuals that we're just waiting to sign up for the class. And if I may, can I also express thank you, Angel. That's all the time we have left. Visit bronxnet.org/education and become a producer by taking the course. The class I offer is also in English, en español y también bilingüe. Nos vemos en la próxima clase.
Welcome back. The Center for Employment Opportunities provides immediate, effective, and comprehensive employment services exclusively to people recently released from incarceration. They are dedicated to ensuring that justice-impacted job seekers have opportunities to achieve socioeconomic mobility. Here to share more about their work is the president of the Center for Employment Opportunities, Samra. Haider, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, now, of course, I mentioned a little bit about the work you're doing, but talk to me a little bit more about the Center for Employment Opportunities and your mission.
Sure. CEO is really focused on helping people recently released from incarceration find employment. And we do that in a pretty unique way, is that we actually get them working. So we operate work crews across the city, across the country, that help people get back into the world of work in a more kind of comforting pace. We pay everyone every day, and we get them reacclimated to this cycle of work. And while they're working for us, we also get them ready for a full-time job outside of CEO. So our goal is really long-term attachment to employment.
Yeah. Now, of course, we are going to break down different campaigns that you have, but I do want to take it back to something that I think was very impressive for us to hear about, was that in April 2020, you did help and have an initiative in helping incarcerated and recently released people as well during the early start of the pandemic. Talk to me about those efforts.
Yeah, we were very concerned that people were going to be released and maybe would not be part of the stimulus program that was offered by the federal government. Also, CEO pays people to work, and we were worried with a lot of stay-at-home orders that immediate pay that we offer them would not be provided. And so we thought, what if we pay people sort of stimulus-like payments for a few months so that when they come home, they have some stability, they have some support, and they're not facing, economic hardship. And so we ended up distributing cash payments to our participants during that time in April 2020.
Yeah, now I have those numbers. It's under a program called Returning Citizen Stimulus Program, and you delivered $24 million in direct payments to over 10,000 people. Now, when you hear those numbers, obviously it's a big number that you're reaching, a big community. What was that initiative like to mobilize this huge effort?
It was incredible, and I think one of the things we realized is, yes, CEO participants are affected, but pretty much anyone coming home is affected. And so we really relied and leveraged our partner network of amazing reentry organizations that are providing different types of services. And so we ended up being able to provide their participants also with cash payments. That's how we were able to reach so many people and distribute so much money beyond just CEO's work. And an interesting fact about CEO is that we pay everyone every day, so we have a pretty sophisticated finance system, and so it was through that daily pay infrastructure that we were able to disperse the money so quickly.
Yeah, you talk about obviously engaging your partners in this effort. What was their response like? Even partnering with local organizations, the community, what was that kind of reaction?
I think at first they're like, really? We're going to get to do this? But I think it was just so appreciative because, we were all just worried about how vulnerable everyone was at that time. But in particular, our folks who we serve were particularly vulnerable. And so I think they just really received it well. And the great thing about that program was people received payments, but they also continued to receive supportive services from those partner organizations. And we targeted both cities that were large and we knew were having a lot of people coming home, but also cities that might have a special kind of circumstance related. So we didn't want to just pick big cities. We targeted 7 different cities that had different kind of nuanced needs.
Yeah, now, of course, with seeing the success of this program, anything that you would say RCS program has informed when it comes to public policy, when it talks about reinstating and kind of re-engaging in the community for recently incarcerated individuals?
Yeah, so we just released a study today that's found some really great impacts on parole violations in particular. And so when you think of reincarceration, a lot of that stems from parole violations, sometimes minor parole violations. I think in 2019, 40% of entries into New York prison was because of parole violations, and that can cost the state about $680 million based on a Columbia study. So what we saw in our study was that we were able to reduce parole violations in a 6-month period by about 46%. We were able to reduce violent parole violations by about 64%. And what's really great is with young people, their parole violations also reduced by 33%. So we saw on every measure, providing this cash assistance really helped to stabilize people and reduce some of those technical parole violations that cost the state a lot of money.
Yeah, now it's so important to even hear kind of those number breakdowns. And there's a campaign that I'm excited to talk to you about because I thought it was very shocking for me to see. But first, New York is already taking some bold steps. We have here that they're introducing the Reentry Assistance Bill. Talk to me a little bit about what that is and how can people kind of find out more about that.
Yeah, so depending on your commissary, you're probably leaving state prison with maybe $200 or less. And so what we're saying is that's just not enough to stabilize. When you come home, there are so many barriers facing an individual, joblessness, housing insecurity, food insecurity. So this bill aims to provide about $425 per month for 6 months for people when they come home, just to allow them a little comfort, a little breathing room as they engage in effective reentry services.
Now, why would you say for people who may question this immediate financial assistance, after being recently released, why is it important?
It's important because, as I mentioned, when you come home, you really often are coming home to strained family situations, to no employment prospects, to having to meet with your parole officer. And so there's a lot in someone's way, and just giving them a little bit of money to maybe contribute to the family groceries, to help buy their children clothing, like that type of stability can just help someone able to engage better in then the services that they want to get long-term employment. So it just really helps to provide stability in an unstable time.
Yeah, now, of course, there's also this part as well of kind of just making people aware of the price tag behind incarcerating people and reincarcerating them. You have a campaign called At What Cost? Can you talk to me a little bit about that campaign itself?
Yeah, to your point, I mean, it's so expensive to incarcerate people, and that starts from policing to incarceration. And what's not shown is how effective and how cost-effective these reentry programs can be. And so what we're trying to do is shift the language from just putting people and locking them away to really thinking about what does helping people reintegrate back into society look like. And a lot of that is shifting the costs and the investment into effective programming.
Yeah, now as part of the campaign, there is a video attached to it where you ask these recently released people as well about what they would do with $1.2 million. And at first, we're hearing answers from nonprofit, giving it back into the community to help younger generations. And then at the end, you reveal that that's the price tag of what it means to incarcerate them. When you even heard their reactions to that, what was your immediate thoughts?
I mean, I think no one realizes it because even if you look at the basic costs, it's like, oh, it's so expensive. But then when you think about lost wages and healthcare costs, I mean, it really piles on. And so I think the reality of this broken system that we keep pouring money into that's actually not serving the purpose of what we want, which is for everybody to have a thriving life and have opportunity. And so that's really what we want to shift in terms of the thinking.
Yeah. Now, of course, with revealing and just being transparent about that number even, and in your findings, what are you finding is most shocking when it comes to the economic and social impacts as well that something like this has on people?
Yeah, I think it's just, the way in which things pile on. So I think I mentioned that 40% of people who have been incarcerated will experience unemployment. I think we have people who are 20% more likely to experience homelessness. We just have a lot of statistics where someone, all the other social factors that affect lots of people are more impacted when someone has a conviction. And so that's the kind of stuff that I don't think people realize, that it's already hard enough when you're released, that when you pile on, if our goal is to get people back into society in an effective way, what we're doing just isn't working.
Yeah. Now, of course, with having the information that you have now, how is that helping to engage lawmakers, policymakers, community members as well? Is it at all helping?
It is helping. And what's really great, especially in this time, is this kind of issue has really great bipartisan, a cross-section of support. Assemblymember Gibbs, as well as State Senator Cooney, are co-sponsoring the bill. We also have a lot of support from our other nonprofit providers who are part of the New York State Cash Coalition. So there's just a lot of support coming from a lot of different factions because, again, it does make a lot of sense. And I think when people, whether you think about it from a public safety lens or just a community impact lens, this makes sense to people that you want to invest in what works and invest in people's prosperity.
Yeah, now of course for people who are hearing there are programs like this that even community members can be a part of it. What would you tell them if they want to support returning citizens as well?
I think just building awareness of the issues, and again, if what you care about is your community, realize that people coming home need support. It could be offering up a job if you're an employer. It could be coming in and volunteering and providing mock interviews or resume help to some of the nonprofits who are helping people get back on their feet. But more importantly, it's just really thinking about someone coming home as not the crime they committed or the worst thing they've ever done, but really as being really engaged members of the community that we want to support.
Yeah, I think that's so important that you mentioned right there too, that they're coming back to be engaged members of the community. Now, if someone has dealt with that past and is kind of reintegrating themselves into society, what programs can they take advantage of, or is there anything that they can kind of look to kind of maybe potentially do a returning citizen program or anything else, you'd say?
Well, hopefully we really try to engage our participants in this advocacy work for this campaign. So hopefully with their advocacy, we can get this passed and get that going to a lot of people. But there's great organizations, especially in New York City, obviously CEO, but you have the Fortune Society, Osborne Association. There's tons of really great providers out there. And so it's just a question of getting connected. But I would say New York, compared to other places, is really well resourced in terms of the reentry community.
Yeah, with that as well, Samra, with the work that you're seeing, obviously, since the pandemic, even till now, how do you feel about when you see, obviously, this impact that it's making to so many individuals as well?
I mean, it's great. I think my greatest joy at work is meeting participants who are just so appreciative and helpful and excited, and they feel a sense of hope. And they come to programs like CEO and really feel like they have advocates and partners in their journey, and oftentimes that hasn't been the case in the past. But there's really a supportive community, whether it's through other nonprofits or their community members themselves. And so I think just seeing that everybody has potential, and really when you give people the right resources and tell them you believe in them, they will do great things and they will be really amazing members of the community.
Yeah, you also mentioned obviously how people hopefully in the long run will be able to take advantage of different programs that you have going on. What is a long-term maybe vision or goal for CEO now after seeing what you've been able to achieve?
Oh, wow. I mean, so many things, but I think in particular, we're really looking to not just get people jobs, but get them on career pathways. How do we move people into jobs where they can be president of CEO? And oftentimes that's working with companies to make sure there's not exclusions in hiring or background check requirements that really keep people out. So I think it's thinking about all the ways in which we can really put people on a ladder towards prosperity.
Yeah. If people are interested in finding out more, where would you direct them? What can they check out?
So you can go to reentry.org to learn more about the broader reentry landscape, and then ceoworks.org/RCS will give you sort of more information around our cash campaign.
Amazing. Well, again, thank you so much, Samra. I think, one, it obviously demystifies this misconception that we have, but also adds this transparency and just obviously in a great initiative. So thank you so much again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, to learn more about the services they provide, please go to their website at ceoworks.org. Stay tuned. We have more open for you right after this.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
What's up, creative family? Discover your voice with BronxNet Community Media classes. Are you ready to bring your ideas to life? At BronxNet, we offer television production classes for community members ages 18 and over, empowering you to share your vision with the world. Get certified in field production, in-studio production, and our new exciting addition, podcast production. Once certified, you can create your own show to air on one of our 6 TV channels. It all starts with our free Unleash Your Ideas Masterclass, designed to help you plan your show idea and set you up for success on your production journey. This class is offered at the beginning of each month for your convenience. Our dedicated BronxNet team is here to support, encourage, and uplift you every step of the way. Join us and become a part of the creative force that engages and inspires the Bronx community and beyond. Sign up today and start your media journey with BronxNet. Visit bronxnet.org/education to learn more and register. Let's create something amazing together.
Welcome back. Did you know that only 26% of Bronx residents aged 25 or older have a degree higher than a high school diploma? Well, the Oyate's group's leadership program is on the front lines to help ensure that high school students from under-resourced communities are given the experiences they need to become empowered leaders. Here to speak towards this mission is the Director of Programs for the Oyate Group, Augustina Warton, along with a student participant, Samir Bawa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
I am excited, Samir, to hear about your journey, obviously, through this incredible program. But to start with you, Augustina, talk to me about the RISE Leadership Program and its mission.
Sure. RISE Leadership is a youth development program run out of Oyate Group. And what we did was we created a program that explores leadership through creative approaches. So students choose an area that they want to learn leadership through. So design and technology, business and entrepreneurship, visual arts and civic engagement, advocacy. So we have different tracks each day of the week at Oyate Group for high school students, 10th and 11th grade.
Yeah, now, of course, I know through this program, you recently took students as well on a college tour, in a sense.
We did.
Talk to me a little bit about that breakdown as well.
A big part of RISE Leadership is college and career readiness. And so we decided to organize a trip to Boston, Massachusetts, to visit 3 different colleges, Harvard, Northeastern, and Emerson College. So we did an overnight trip there last week, actually.
Yeah. Now, Samir, you recently got to be a part of this trip. Yeah. Talk to me about your experience.
I think it was really insightful, going and learning about the colleges, not only about what they offer, but about their history. And I feel like it added a lot to what I look for when I want to go to a college.
Yeah. Talk to me about those things as well. Obviously, getting to see that and kind of inspiring you a little bit about what you're looking for in college. How did that kind of happen, or what are you kind of looking for now?
When we went, I saw that a lot of the schools offered, a lot of flexibility in your major. At this current moment, I'm not really sure what I want to do when I go to college, but the fact that they have that flexibility within their teaching, I feel like that is something I really look for.
That's incredible. Now, well, Augustina, why is it important for high school students to be able to see themselves on a college campus? Like, what impact does that actually have on them?
Well, like you mentioned, in the Bronx, only 26% of people have anything past the high school diploma. And for us, it's really important to bring young people to college campuses and really have them know that they can take up space, they can be there, and that's a space for them as well. So that's the biggest thing for us, is beyond exposure, is showing them that this is something you can aspire to, and it's definitely possible. And our programs are meant to support that process and give them a lot of different college options. So
yeah,
we hope that for each participant.
Definitely. And I mean, when you talk about that too, and even hearing Samir's story, it's something that, trust me, when I was even in high school, I was still figuring out what I wanted to do in college, but just to be on a college campus, that was so profound to me. How does it help the students beyond just even their college track, you'd say?
Yeah, I think seeing what going away to college looks like is important, because we have so many amazing public colleges and universities here in New York City. But what does it mean to go to another city like Boston? Let's take the T, let's eat at a dining hall, let's look at residence halls, and really imagine yourself on campus. What does that look like? What do you gravitate towards? What do you not like about it? What can you learn before you actually go that you don't like, so you don't experience it when you get there, So, yeah.
Now, of course, for you, Samir, as well, what did it mean to see yourself in these academic institutions, in these spaces as well, and have that experience?
What it meant to me was that, there's more to life than just the community around us. Going to Boston really showed me that that there's more out there, and those things are within reach. We went to Harvard, and the tour guide was just telling us about how she never saw herself at Harvard, but just working hard and, you know, showing that she earned it got her there.
Yeah, beautiful experience, and obviously important to get that one-on-one kind of in-person experience and stories with that. Now, I did read that you got to tour, dine, and explore the college life as well. So with that, you know, anything that you learned about college life that maybe you didn't know before as well?
I learned that no one college is the same as the others. Depending on the college life is different, the social life is different because, you know, different colleges have different things that they offer. So seeing different colleges, seeing the people and how they interact with each other, that was something that was different for me.
Yeah. Now, Samir, I don't want to put you on the spot, but let me know. Obviously, you went through to so many different schools as well as that. Any of them that actually like maybe stood out to you, or that maybe you were surprised to be like, hey, maybe I can see myself here one day as well?
The two colleges that really stood out to me were probably Northeastern and Harvard. Harvard, to me before was just a name, but I feel like with my work ethic and my dedication, I feel like it's within reach, closer than I thought it was before. And for Northeastern, I really like their flexibility, like I spoke about before, and I feel like I could see myself there one day.
Yeah, and we're putting it out into the universe, manifesting it right here, right now.
Yep.
With that as well, Augustina, talk to me. When you obviously, one thing is to envision this program, you know, but then to actually see it come to life, these students have this experience. What is that like from your point of view as well?
Well, it's just wonderful. I was actually a part of youth development programs growing up as well, so I know the power of it firsthand. I didn't see myself in college, but I had mentors that sort of guided me through that process, and so to be able to carry that on and offer that to young people at Oyate Group through Rise Leadership and our other youth development programs, I think, you know, going to college really opens your mind to all of the possibilities of life, you know, and so that's super important to me. And we've really put a focus on college readiness by creating a college access program that complements Rise Leadership.
Okay.
And so we have a college access person who works with all of our seniors after they experience Rise Leadership in 10th and 11th grade. They can come back and work with us on their college applications, on their SATs, on their letters of recommendation. And so it's not just an idea, it's something that we put a lot of effort and intention into. And we want, like I said before, young people to have many options, college being one of them. But if they have other ideas as well, we'll support that. So.
Yeah, now, of course, for people who may be watching and want to have this experience, or like you mentioned, be a part of these other initiatives that you have going on for the youth, what are the qualifications and process to be a part of something like this?
Yeah, every program that we offer has an application, and every application and the application dates are listed on our website, oyategroup.org. And then they can just search there and they can apply. For Rise Leadership particularly, you can join in 10th and 11th grade. And fill out the application and hopefully get accepted.
Yeah.
Samir.
I mean, with that as well, what would you tell, Augustina, parents who may be, you know, skeptical about even having their kid go away to college, but what would you tell them about letting them be a part of something like this as well, in this experience?
Yeah, I mean, we had those conversations because I think some parents worry, you know, sending their children away for a night in a different city. I think that a lot of it is just having the experience and showing them a college campus really helps to give them that extra effort in applying. Like, oh, this is fun, the dining halls, the college campus, all the extracurriculars that you can do when you get there. That kind of experience really offers, that extra oomph to apply to school, hopefully. That's what we hope, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love what you mentioned earlier too about that. Obviously, having this experience once makes it easier when they actually are officially an enrolled student at one of these universities or schools. That experience is already that first shyness day. You'll still have it, those nerves, but it'll feel a little bit more comfortable at that.
Definitely.
Samir, through your experience as well, what would you tell other students who may be unsure about even going to college or having these experiences? What would you let them know? I'd
probably say that, you know, you just have to find what's right for you, because there's at least a bit of comfortability in wherever you go. And I feel like as soon as you find that, it doesn't really matter where you're at, you'll just find your place.
Yeah. Now, you talked even earlier about your experience going through something like this. What does it mean to you to feel and to know that you are part of a program that's empowering other young individuals as well in our borough at that?
I'd say it's inspiring, and it kind of pushes me to want to learn more and give back to my community the way they do. I feel like their work there is really like empowering to not just us, but those around us. And it shows that going to school and, you know, finding and helping out is more than just something that adults can do, and even us now can do for the people around us.
Yeah. Now, of course, if people are looking at the Oyate group, hearing about some of these programs, what can people who are watching and want to support the initiative, either from the Bronx or beyond, what can they do to support?
Yeah, there's a couple ways that you can support Oyate Group and Rise Leadership. Like in Samir's track, the Business and Entrepreneurship track of Rise Leadership, we have speakers come in who volunteer their time to talk about their businesses or talk about their careers, so they can offer to volunteer to be a speaker in our programs, or they could donate. If they can donate their time, they can donate their money at oyategroup.org. And they can also reach out to me, and I think my contact info will be on the screen at some point. So yeah.
Definitely, we'll be sure to share that as well with our viewers. Samir, I mean, Augustina mentioned even the area of leadership that you chose. Why was it important for you to choose this kind of specialization for yourself?
I felt like it was special and important for me to choose this because, well, me and a couple of my friends, we have a clothing brand. And I feel like the skills that they taught us and the things that they helped us do with just this program has pushed our business to another level. And just the skills in general, being able to adapt to certain situations, I feel like it helps not only in just business, but in life itself.
Definitely. And the experiences you're having now, like you mentioned, will help
Yeah.
you and will go with you beyond just the program and just in life in general. So, so many great skills. Augustina, Samir, thank you so much again for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Now, if you would like to learn more about the Rise Leadership Program, please visit the website on your screen below. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open after this. Welcome back. The Bronx Defenders is a public defender nonprofit that is radically transforming how low-income people in the Bronx are represented in the justice system. The Director of Community Engagement for the Bronx Defenders, Aleciah Anthony, and the Director of Adolescent Defense Project for the Bronx Defenders, Orayne Williams, join me now in studio. Aleciah, Orayne, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, now, of course, we are going to get into a few topics, but I want to, obviously, and our viewers to know a little bit more of an overview of the organization. So tell me a little bit about the Bronx Leadership and Organizing Center. Aleciah.
Yeah, so the Bronx Leadership and Organizing Center was co-founded by the Bronx Defenders. And so it is a coalition of nonprofit organizations working together on issues of economic mobility. And so that means we work on various issues in the Bronx, including affordable housing, youth development, workforce development. And so really the purpose of the groups coming together is to really make sure we are a united force in the Bronx working on those issues so that we're not siloed.
Yeah, when you talk about this focus as well of just being in the community, seeing what the issues are, any major concerns that come up? Maybe Orayne, if you want to take this one.
Sure. One of the major concerns that we're seeing is the school-to-prison pipeline. As I work with adolescents at the Bronx Defender, and just to briefly share what the school-to-prison pipeline is any system and practices within the school that funnel our students into the legal system. So we're looking at things like suspension, we're looking at the zero-tolerance policy, we're looking at having NYPD on school sites, being involved in situations that should be resolved by social workers and school staff. So that's one of the major issues that we're seeing right now in the community is the school-to-prison pipeline, funneling our students into the legal system.
Yeah, when you talk about the school-to-prison pipeline as well, what role does the mental health kind of toll or even the support at that kind of contribute to this kind of system as well?
Right.
Maybe Orayne?
Yeah, I could jump on that. So I think the lack of mental health support in school and the over-reliance on discipline is playing a role in what we're seeing in the school-to-prison pipeline. And I even like to go deeper with that and say it has a lot to do with perception and perspective. How you perceive someone, how you perceive someone will influence and dictate how you interact with them. And, you know, we're seeing that if you're perceiving young people as threats, then you will try to discipline them more as to rehabilitating them. And, you know, statistics and research shows that administrators and school staff tend to view, even specifically Black and brown students, their misbehavior in school more threatening and more dangerous. And then you see that the approach that they take to resolve that is one of discipline, which more so funnel into the school-to-prison pipeline as opposed to one of rehabilitative mental health support.
Yeah.
I also think that mental health is important in the schools because as the kids are being suspended or going through all these disciplinary process, their self-esteem begins to become decreased. And as they go through the process, they begin to think of themselves as less than, and they begin to internalize those feelings of inferiority. And so mental health support to make sure that they don't stay in that they're able to come out of that and be successful is very important. And so I think it's great that we're increasing awareness around mental health. I know in New York City, 7 of our schools in the Bronx just got new mental health centers. And so it's important that those mental health centers are in the school so that it's integrated into their lives and it doesn't seem that it's opposite.
Yeah, when you talk about these efforts as well, right, these are kind of advances to be able to kind of, like, again, not help the students feel trapped, right? And with that as well, what would a truly supportive and inclusive space look like? Is this kind of the way to go, you'd say, or the steps to get there, to obviously provide this type of care for people so that they don't feel this trapped?
I think an inclusive space is a space where kids can bring their whole selves to the classroom, and that the school is supportive in that way, that there are social workers and guidance counselors and even curriculums that support their developments. We know, and we heard earlier, that young people learn in different ways, and so we have to have that. We have to have restorative justice and peer mentoring, and all those things help to make young people successful.
Yeah, with that as well, Orayne, I mean, what changes would need to happen at school, city, or even policy levels to kind of make everyone feel, that, and students feel that they are treated fairly?
Yeah, I think I'll go to the root of it, perspective again. I think the real change that we need to see is that we need to begin to view young people and students holistically. You know, when they show up in a classroom, that's just one role that they're playing. They're playing the role as a student, but outside of that classroom, some students are playing the role as a caretaker for a sick parent, or a caretaker for a grandmother, or a caretaker for their sibling. And as Aleciah said, we need to have young people come into the school and bring their whole self, so that we will be able to address not just the learning part of it, but the things that are serving, the factors that are serving as learning barrier, serving as barriers to their learning, which is why mental health is super important. And then definitely on the policy level, you know, there are a lot of coalition right now that are pushing back on suspension. There's a lot of coalition right now that are pushing for more social workers in school, for more community-based organization to partner with schools. So there's a lot of change needs to happen within the school itself as it pertains to the interfacing with young people. But then on a policy level, on a systematic level, there definitely needs to be some change in policies and in the implementation of the policies that we're seeing in schools.
Yeah, when you talk about even that suspension in general, something that I found in some of the reports we were seeing was that Black students make up 25% of New York City's public school population, but over 50% of suspensions. Why is there such a big gap here that we're seeing?
Yeah.
Aleciah?
Yes, so I think that is not a coincidence. It is not shocking and surprising because it mimics mass incarceration.
Yeah.
So when you think about mass incarceration on a level, you see those same numbers of statistics, right? People of color being smaller numbers of the people in communities, but the larger numbers of people that are incarcerated.
Yeah.
So it definitely mimics that. Also, our young people are hyper surveilled, right? They have high numbers of just people looking at them and watching what they do, and even using that when they're just being kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Why can't our kids be kids?
Yeah.
And you even talked about, I mean, Orayne, you mentioned it as well, how sometimes there are students when they go into the school, but they are caretakers. They have other roles and other kind of things that on their shoulders that they have to worry about. Another statistics that we were seeing was that students with disabilities are more than twice as likely to be suspended.
Yeah.
What's going wrong here, Orayne?
Definitely going back to the lack of those mental health support in schools, right? So we have young people who have learning disabilities and behavioral challenges, and they're being interpreted as dangerous and threatening as opposed to someone who needs support. I've sat in IEP meeting advocating for clients and really fighting with schools who were silently pushing students with learning disability out, and having to sit in those rooms and fight and say, no, this young person IEP states that they need this service, so it is your responsibility to provide them with that. So we're seeing where there's a misunderstanding and mishandling of young people who have learning disabilities, and a lack of resources for them. And I do believe that the resources are there. Is for the schools to be more intentional about accessing them and advocating for them to then provide them to our young people, specifically those with learning disabilities.
Yeah, now we even talked about some of the advancements that Bronx Offenders is helping, obviously to do, even the importance of mental health at that. For you, Aleciah, how can schools replace punishment with support systems like a counseling, a restorative justice, or trauma-informed teaching as well? Is that something that is afforded and can be done, you'd say?
Absolutely, it can be done. And I think the way to get that to happen is that parents and students and community groups need to come together to make sure that they are pushing the schools to think about alternative solutions. Because when you suspend kids and take them out of school, right, other things are happening in the community. They then feel like they are excluded versus included. And so then again, we don't want them to fall prey to the school to prison pipeline. And so we want to see them in school, creating alternatives in the school to help them address whatever needs that they may have.
Yeah, you talked about even that part right there of parents as well, right? How is the Bronx Offenders working with parents who may be navigating this challenging moment in time?
So in the Bronx Leadership and Organizing Center, we bring together parents, teachers, students, and community-based organizations to really look at what's happening in the schools and think about solutions to address them. I think when you want change in the community, people in the community have to get involved. They have to be invested. And parents, you know, to the parents listening, I know it's tough. I'm a single mom, right? So I know how difficult it is. You may be working. Maybe you don't even understand what's actually happening in the school, but get to the schools. Make sure teachers know your name, know your kids, and stay on top of them.
Yeah. Orayne, anything you'd like to add as well to that? I think an important and such a crucial message as well to share.
Yeah, I'll definitely add and say we have to bring parents and students are stakeholders. And when we're talking about making changes and implementation to benefit them, they need a seat at the table. So one of the things that we do at the Bronx Defender, we give voice to parents, is we give voice to our young people and bringing them at the table in the space where their thoughts and their expression needs to be heard. We're meeting with council members and we're elevating the requests and the cry for help of our clients, whether it's parents or young people. So definitely them having a seat at the table, being a part of the conversation. You can't bring change without including the people who you're bringing the change for. And we see a lot of that is happening where we're bringing in changes without talking to the people who need the change.
Yeah. Something that I found interesting as well in learning about the Bronx Defenders is that you defend nearly 20,000 low-income Bronx residents in criminal, civil, child welfare, and immigration cases, right? We talk about these Bronx residents, but here you are as well talking about the importance of these younger generations.
Yeah.
Why is it important to advocate for them and to also add them as part of your mission of who you defend?
Absolutely. I don't think there is a chance for real, lasting, sustainable change unless young people are involved.
Yeah.
They have to be heard, their ideas, they're new, they're brilliant. And so we work with young people. We have an action council full of young people who are really invested in these issues. And most people think young people don't care, but they do. They watch, they see, and we need to create opportunities for them to be involved every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you'd say as well about that?
Definitely. I think when you're thinking about young people as well, when you talk about young people, there are two sayings that come to mind. One, it takes a village, right? And then the second one is that the youth are our future. So if we strongly believe that youth are our future, if we're incarcerating them, then we're incarcerating our future, right? If we're mishandling them, then we're mishandling our future. And then we need to become that village. We need to show up as a village. We need to show up with that support. And it may incorporate different roles. Aleciah may show up one way, I may show up another way, but when the village come together, we can better support our young people. And Bronx Defender is that village.
Awesome. Well, with that, I think that's the perfect kind of tie-in to also let people know that they can be a part of this village, helping the younger generations. With that, Aleciah, Orayne, thank you so much for joining me today and being with us.
Thank you
so much
for having us.
Definitely. Now, to keep up with all the efforts made by the Bronx Defenders, please go to the website at bronxdefenders.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and, of course, you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you've missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast at 5 and 8 p.m. tonight on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios 33, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rina Valentin on Friday. I'm Jonathan Calixto. Stay informed, stay inspired, and stay safe. Until next time.